Despite many unsuccessful attempts, the obsession with finding other civilizations won't go away. Beyond this obsession are many questions that have bothered scientists for many decades. Like, how would we compare to other civilizations? And what incredible power might they have? Soviet astrophysicist Nikolai Semyonovich Kardashev had the same questions back in the day, and this led him to introduce the Kardashev scale in 1964. In today's video, we'll explore what the true capability of aliens might be based on the latest updates on his scale. Considering there are potentially 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone, it's safe to say scientists don't know exactly where to find life in our galaxy. This maybe explains why they've been shooting blanks over the years. Nikolai Kardashev was perhaps a little bit more precise when he suggested that our universe could harbor other civilizations, many of which are more advanced than humans. But how do we know this for sure? Well, many scientists believe that if these civilizations came into existence before humans, they'd be much more advanced. However, Kardashev was convinced that all civilizations would need some form of energy to exist, regardless of where it's located in the universe. The Russian-Soviet astronomer didn't stop there. He went on to classify the advancement level of the civilizations that could exist within our galaxy, based on the amount of energy they generate per second. And this is what we've come to know as the Kardashev scale. Type 0 civilization is at the bottom of the Kardashev scale. A civilization in this category would not be able to fully harness all the energy on its home planet. But that's not to say they'll live like the men of the Stone Age. Typically, a Type 0 civilization could generate power from raw materials such as soot, oil, and natural gas. Humanity is currently a Type 0. Don't be too sad though, because it might turn out to be that we're the only civilization in the Milky Way galaxy. And we're not far away from moving up the scale too. Back in 1973, American astronomer Carl Sagan estimated our global civilization was around 0.7 on the Kardashev scale. Based on Carl's calculation, we should have hit 0.72 as of 2018. But according to theorists like Michio Kaku, we're roughly between 100 and 200 years away from becoming a Type 1 civilization. Any form of life that reached this level is able to harness all the energy forms available on its planet with a 100% efficiency rate. To achieve this, they would literally have to utilize every wave, every ray of light from its home star, and every last drop of fossil fuel they can milk out from the ground. Doing this would make their planet uninhabitable, of course, so their main energy source would be nuclear fusion. The same process keeps our sun alive for more than 4.5 billion years. It is quite possible that a Type 1 civilization is able to crack this code and use it for their day-to-day energy needs. That would give aliens nearly unlimited amount of energy to play around with. Admittedly, they need around 89 billion grams of hydrogen every year to produce all the nuclear fusion energy they need. And it is easier to get it than you think. It's all there in 1 square kilometer of ocean water. According to the Kardashev scale, a Type 1 civilization will have around 10 to the 1 to the 7th power watts of energy. This enormous volume of power makes it a reality to control all a planet's natural forces, including hurricanes, volcanoes, geothermal events, earthquakes, and more. Obviously, a civilization like that could easily run their spacecraft on nuclear fusion as well. This would allow them to send crewed missions to basically any planet within their solar system. It is also believed that a Type 1 civilization will have a full grasp on antimatter and the science and technology of curing any disease and regenerating any organ. Every living being of a civilization like that will have a significantly longer lifespan than us. Furthermore, they'll have the luxury of living just about anywhere, including the sea, amongst the clouds, and of course, on land. However, as they near the final stages of a Type 1 civilization, the artificially generated nuclear fusion energy will become insufficient to sustain their advances in science and technology. Hence, the most efficient and realistic means of obtaining energy would be from nearby stars. As expected, a Type 2 civilization will be more advanced than Type 1 or a Type 0. Species in this civilization will graduate from transforming starlight into energy to controlling stars and planets. Hypothetically, humans already have the ability to do this through the Dyson sphere, which involves swarming every inch of a star and transferring all of its energy output to a planet for future use. However, a Type 2 civilization is capable of doing that, and not just hypothetically. What's more, they could even build orbiting reactors to drain hydrogen from nearby gas giants like Jupiter or Saturn. Extraterrestrials at this level have the power to produce 10 to the 2 to the 6th power watts of energy, and as far as science goes, they are immune to extinction. Moving on now to Type 3, or galactic civilization as it's sometimes called, any species with this level of advancement will produce around 10 to the 3 to the 6th power watts of energy. Their world will be very much different from what Earth looks like today, both technologically and biologically. Inhabitants of a Type 3 civilization would most likely be cyborgs who could potentially have the power to tap into the energy of black holes and perform time travel by traveling through wormholes. Type 3 level aliens could also have a colony or several colonies of self-replicating robots that spread through the galaxy and colonize other areas. In addition, anti-gravity devices would be a mainstay in a galactic civilization. Theoretically, life in a world like that would be very similar to what we've seen in sci-fi movies like Star Trek and Star Wars. Depending on which sci-fi content you choose to believe, aliens are supposedly a Type 3 civilization species. Alternatively called the universal civilization, a Type 4 civilization will extend the limits of all the achievements made by the members of the previous levels. For instance, supernovas would be the main energy source in a Type 4 civilization. Basically, supernovas are massive explosions that happen during the final stages of a giant star's life. Typically, this only happens once every 40 years in a single galaxy, so a Type 4 civilization would need to travel through multiple galaxies to gather this energy. But in order to do this, they'd need to create artificial wormholes. This shouldn't be a problem for a species that can extract energy from a dying star. Also, inhabitants of a Type 4 civilization will be immortals. In other words, they'll be like demigods and possibly have the ability to live inside black holes. All of these possibilities sound interesting, but it's time to put that into context. Humanity would most likely need a few billion years of evolution to reach this status. But the scariest thing is that if this type of civilization existed today, there'd be no way to detect their presence by any means. A Type 5 civilization is also known as a multiverse civilization. Extraterrestrials of this kind would need an enormous amount of technology that can almost not be quantified. The main source of energy for this civilization would be white holes. They would be advanced enough to escape their universe of origin and explore the multiverse. Such a civilization would have mastered technology to a point where they could simulate or build a custom universe. A Type 6 civilization will discover life in different dimensions beyond the third dimension. For perspective, transcending to a higher dimension would increase the capacity of what we could accomplish several hundred times. Technically, our three-dimensional bodies might be destroyed the very moment we cross into the fourth dimension. But this wouldn't be an issue for the immortals of the Type 4 civilization and the demigods that exist in a Type 5 civilization. Being on level 6 could easily create universes or multiverses and destroy them just as easily as they created them. Not much of a big deal for them, as they exist outside of space and time. Also regarded as the creator civilization, the Type 7 civilization is the most mysterious level on the Kardashev scale. In reality, it would be nearly impossible for any species to reach this status. Not even the Type 6 multidimensional civilization, no matter how hard they try. This is because the Type 7 civilization is in fact not a civilization, but an existence itself, capable of creating matter, energy, space, time, natural laws, dimensions, and everything else in between. Now that's something a Type 0 civilization like humans can only dream of.